I will call to order the meeting of Monday, August 13th, and I ask the clerk to please take the roll.
Councilmember Archibald.
Here.
Councilmember Ashford.
Present.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Lamb.
Here.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Here.
Councilmember Warden.
Here.
Mayor Rep.
Here. You have before you the minutes from the regular meeting of July the 9th. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Archibald. Is there any additions or deletions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes stand as submitted. We have several presentations tonight. If the clerk could please read the first one.
Presentation of a proclamation recognizing September 2018 as National Recovery Month.
Patrick, if you want to meet me right here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to read it now, and then I know you want a few minutes to talk afterwards. Whereas behavioral health is an essential part of health and one's overall wellness, and whereas prevention of mental and substance use disorders works, treatment is effective, and people recover in our area and around the nation. And whereas preventing and overcoming mental and substance use disorders is essential to achieving healthy lifestyles both physically and emotionally. And whereas we must encourage relatives and friends of people with mental and/or substance use disorders to implement preventative measures, recognize the signs of a problem, and guide those in need to appropriate treatment and recovery support services. And whereas thousands of people in St. Clair County are affected by these conditions, and whereas to help more people achieve and sustain long-term recovery, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, and the Port Huron City Council invite all residents of Port Huron to participate in National Recovery Month this September 2018. Now, therefore, I, Pauline M. Rapp, by the authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of Port Huron, and on behalf of Council Members Archibald, Ashford, Harris, Lamb, Ruiz, and Warden, do hereby proclaim September 2018 to be National Recovery Month in the City of Port Huron, and call upon the people in our community to observe this month with appropriate programs, activities, and ceremonies to support this year's Recovery Month theme, Join the Voices for Recovery, Strengthen Families and Communities. Congratulations.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Thank you. My name's Patrick. I'm in recovery, and this disease continues to affect a lot of us in the area. And September 8th, we have a statewide softball tournament that we're putting on that will be held here in Port Huron. Basically, each major metropolitan city in the state of Michigan has 1 to 2 recovery teams that represent that city. So Flint will have 1 or 2, Bay City, Midland, Lansing, and we're all meeting here in Port Huron. And one thing we all have in common is sobriety. And so it's a beautiful day. We've got events lined up throughout the day. We've got bounce houses that are coming out there for the kids. Q Country is going to be broadcasting live from the event at Knox Field. And we'd love to have you guys there. I believe Pauline's going to be throwing out the first pitch, which is at 8 a.m.
Yes,
8 a.m. Saturday, September 8th, called the Blue Water Recovery Classic at Knox Field on 24th Street. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mayor Rep, before you move to the next presentation, may I make an announcement?
Sure.
I'd like to congratulate the Center of Port Huron. They just received their substance abuse program license. Let's give them a round of applause. Our people have somewhere to go to get help. And this couldn't have been possible without the leadership of Diane Slingerland and the Reverend Guy Lynch, and I know there are other staff members that are involved, but it's something, when we have these problems, these issues, they just don't sit there. We have to do something about them, and they took the initiative to lead that fight. We had a lot of people just doing a lot of talking, but today, we not only congratulate you for this month, but you have something in place that will help sustain you in getting better, because you have someone there to support you. A round of applause again, because that is a great thing. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Which kind of comes along with our next presentation. So if you'd like to read that, please.
Representatives from Stone Soup Food Bank will provide a brief presentation on the history of their organization and their plans to expand within St. Clair County.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mary Ann McLeod, and I'm here with Stone Soup Food Bank. I'm here with my husband, Steve McLeod, and we are the founders of Stone Soup Food Bank. So our mission statement to start off is that we are the stewards for the collection and rescue of surplus foods that will be distributed to the hungry people in our community. That's the basis for our organization. And I'd like to give you a little bit about our story. So what's in our name? It's because of the stone soup fable. Two travelers came to the city with a stone. They were hungry. They put it in a pot, added some water, reached out to the community. They shared the vegetables that they had, and everyone then shared a bowl of soup. It was a community working together. And you'll see a common theme running through my presentation tonight, partnership with the community. We've been incorporated a nonprofit since 2009. We've moved to Lapeer in 2011, where we currently reside in a 7,200 square foot facility, a warehouse facility. We are independent, meaning that how we support ourselves, how we get our funding is through private donors, community foundation grants, and fundraising. So we're not the big guy, we're the middle guy, here to make a difference. We currently have a presence at the center of Port Huron, and we've been there since 2017, and we are looking to expand in St. Clair County. So we are more than just a food bank, and I will tell you how we are more than just a food bank. We focus on what matters. So we partner with organizations serving those in need. We currently have 65 agencies, churches, and nonprofits that we assist with food product. We also partner with the community to bring awareness to the people with food insecurities. And we also provide the best possible food choices. We have locally grown meats, fresh vegetables, and we do organic when possible. How do we do this? We have different programs that make up Stone Soup Food Bank. And what I'll do is go through each of these programs high level for you tonight. The first one is our Wheels of Sharing program. We have a food truck that we send out to deliver to agencies that are having food giveaways. So what you do is you contact our organization, and we work with you on your food giveaway. If it's regarding a chicken dinner, we try to then get product that will evolve around a chicken dinner. We also have, we base it on the quantity of your giveaway, so it eliminates waste. So if you think you're serving 125 families, that's what the truck is based on. What we do is we send out in advance what is on the truck so that you know what you're getting delivered that day. And we work with you on swapping out product if you need to. Another program we have is our project Raising Hope. And this is a project that is sort of the brainchild of Steve. He worked with the Lapeer County Ed Tech Center in their agri-science program, and they had a farm there. And one of the things, being an independent food bank, we needed protein. So working with the farm and the students there, they raise animals, which are then processed for meat and given to us to be distributed through the community. One of the great things about this program is at the school, they have a special needs section. They've partnered with those children, and they work with them on the farm to raise the animals. And some of them have gone on to show the animals as well. And then the meat comes back to us for distribution. So it's all locally grown, quality meat. They follow the USDA guidelines. Another program that we have is we're in partnership with the Thumb Correctional Facility. Stone Soup Food Bank we bring in 20,000 pounds of bread and about 15,000 pounds of vegetables every week. And we mainly get in the vegetable line. It's tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers. But it's the seasonal vegetables that we need and like to distribute. So in partnering with the Thumb Correctional Facility, they have a horticulture program for some of the prisoners that earned the privilege to work in the program. However, because of some red tape, they cannot consume what they grow. So we are the recipients of those vegetables. And to date, we've probably received over 1,500 pounds of fresh produce. So once a week, we pick it up and distribute it then to our community. And it's just their small way of giving back. We also have a Farm to Fork program. Through a partnership with the farmers in the area, we help them feed their livestock. Because we bring in such quantities of food, some food does not always make it. It's not shelf-worthy, as we'll call it. So we give them the expired bread and vegetables so that they can help feed their livestock. And in return, they give us eggs, meat, and chickens, and it's a great program. And then we distribute that product to the community. One of the things that we're involved in over in Lapeer, and you may have a similar program here, it's called Healthy Living Lapeer. And what it is, it's a group of nonprofits that are dedicated to teaching and educating the Lapeer residents about a healthy eating lifestyle. Through a grant, this program is funded, we were able to purchase a mobile food cart. And the food cart goes around to the farmers markets or to different churches and schools, and the food is presented by the chef at McLaren and teaches them healthy living life choices. They also get, the classes are free, and they also get takeaway groceries. Stone Soup Food Bank also supports, on our own dime, some pantries in the Lapeer and surrounding area. We provide 3 senior complexes weekly with fresh breads, vegetables, and other product. We supply the Mott College Lapeer campus with like a grab-and-go pantry. The students that are with the Project Raising Hope, the special needs students, come to our facility on Mondays, pick up product, they take it back to their school, they inventory it, they stock it, and then they have students or families that need food. So we're providing them with a transferable life skill. They can only stay in this program till they're 26 years old, but when they come to our pantry and pick up, they know they can take it back. They have their own grocery store, and it gives them a lot of pride. And we've also been participating with the Center of Port Huron on a monthly food giveaway every Thursday, and that's how we ended up meeting Anita. So I appreciate that, you stopping by. So our reach. We are currently assisting 11 counties in the Thumb area. So we're just not limited to Lapeer, although that's where currently our headquarters are. And you can see year over year, since 2012, we started tracking our incoming and outgoing pounds. We're almost up to 2.1 million pounds of food product brought into our facility. We have some generous donors, name a few. They're able to give us product that we then pass out to the other churches and agencies. We are regularly inspected and in compliance with OSHA, USDA, the fire marshal, city ordinances. We're serve safe, as well as the county health department. So we follow the strict guidelines for our facility. So what are our goals for Port Huron? What we'd like to do is establish a warehouse in the Port Huron area to service the increase in need. We'd like to partner with the churches, other nonprofits and agencies to feed the community. And we'd like to provide organizations with another option to purchase perishable and non-perishable product. And that is it. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions from
Any
council?
questions?
Any questions from anyone on council about the program? It's a wonderful program.
Thank you. I left with Councilman Harris.
He's going to pass them
And
down.
you just pass the brochures down. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
My husband and I do have another engagement to go to, so I thank you for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
We'll move on to presentation number 3.
Beautification Commission members will recognize the 2018 Yard of the Year winners.
Good evening, everyone. We thank Mayor Rep and City Council for the opportunity to give recognition to the talented gardeners of our city. I'm Stephanie Romales, Secretary of the Beautification Commission and co-chair for the Yard of the Year with Sally Jack. The commission is comprised of a 9-member board of dedicated individuals, and this year marks the 33rd year of existence for our board since it was created in 1985. The Commission's mission is to enhance and maintain the natural beauty of the city of Port Huron and to create and foster citizen pride by developing programs, projects, and annual events. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Beautification Commission members in attendance tonight. If they will please stand when I read their names. They're all here. Ashley Cox, Nicole Hutchinson, Sally Jett, Donna Kelly, Rose Coda, Julia Price, and then we have lifelong members that have served more than 10 years, Mary Jo Edson, Kathy Hall, Diane Horn, Laura Luttrell, Carolyn McNeil, and Evelyn Rogers. The City Council annually appropriates $3,300 to assist the Commission with purchasing flowers and to help with sponsoring the Yard of the Year contest and the Tree Recognition Program. We appreciate this allotment of funds. The beautification currently maintains approximately 25 flower beds throughout the city, and members and volunteers prepare and plant these flower beds each season and then provide the ongoing weeding and maintenance of these beds. The Beautification Committee also sponsors the Tree Recognition Program, whereby individuals can have a tree planted on city property in memory of a loved one or a dear friend, or just to honor and recognize an individual of importance to them. Finally, we also sponsor the annual Yard of the Year contest. This event provides us with the opportunity to showcase the beautiful landscaping that our residents and businesses do. At this time, I'd like to introduce my co-chair of the Yard of the Year contest, Sally Jett. Would you please come up and help me present the awards?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council.
As we said earlier, this year marks the 30 years, or 33 years of our inception, and we've actually been doing this for 30 years. It began in 1988.
The object of this contest is to encourage people and businesses to beautify their property.
The properties are judged by master gardeners who look for very specific things like design, overall appearance, neatness, and plant material.
The judges are impartial and good at what they do. They follow a point system and they judge only the front of the property. Addresses are given to the judges without them knowing who the owner is.
We've divided the city into 3 districts, those being the North District, which is the north city limits to the Blue Water Bridge, I-94, the Central District, which is the Blue Water Bridge, I-94, south to Griswold Street, and then the South District, which is Griswold Street to southern city limits.
It is interesting to mention that there have been 615 awards presented since the inception of this contest. This total includes today's recipients.
If we're to break this down, we would have recognized 376 residential and 239 commercial businesses.
And we're pleased to note that 43 nominations were received this year.
Now, residential winners will receive the coveted yellow tulip, and commercial winners will be presented with a plaque.
Repeat winners will receive a leaf to add to the stem of their original tulip.
We will now announce the winners and ask if an individual or their representative is here tonight so that they can come forward and accept their award. By the way, there will be pictures up behind you of each of these areas.
We'll begin with the commercial.
No, we're going to begin with the north end.
Oh, whatever they want.
Only because that's where,
Okay. The first is a residential at 3018 Armour Street.
No.
Oh.
3807. Yeah,
No.
I know. I told you she didn't do this morning.
Oh,
Sorry, we've got, it says here, go to handout with pictures. We didn't get a handout with pictures.
oh, you didn't get that? Okay. I'm sitting here flicking back the pages.
Oh, so we have a list, but the list isn't in order.
Oh, that's all right.
Mr. Freed, thank you. Okay,
Oh, I thought I lost my mind.
3807 Catalpa Court. It would be Bob and Ann Beedon. If they're here, would you please come up?
That is nice.
And I believe you've been a previous, no? Okay. You get the bright yellow tulip. There you go. You're welcome. Congratulations. All right,
the next one is
right there.
3018 Armour Street, Kathleen and Andary.
And I know this is a repeat. They
Yeah.
won last year, too. It's a lovely property.
It's beautiful.
So you end up adding all these. Congratulations.
And the third from the north end is 3027 Omar,
And that was-
Brian and Robin Alleman.
And again, they are new this year, so they end up with a tulip. Here, you have them today. All right.
We'll applaud anyways.
From the
Central,
309 Taylor Street, Kenneth and Penny Bluska. The second from Central, 1533 Court Street, Mark Reynolds.
they are. And then finally, the Central 1711 Court Street. That's Joseph and Brenda Debell. Here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And from the south end, 2223 Griswold, Stephen and Catherine Grattan. Good to see you. So good to see you. The next is 737 Oak Street, Sara Leslie. And finally, 2458 Military, George and Debra Singer.
This was the leaf, but I could see a leaf here. I forgot your leaf. Yes. Some of these people we see year after year, you get to know them a little bit.
From the commercial side, McLaren Port Huron Hospital. the Jowett Funeral Home. 1633. And the third of this commercial and the final award this evening. The First United Methodist Church, 828 Lapeer Avenue, and I believe Mr.
Beedon
Beedon.
gets to come back up, yes, he does.
Thank you.
And that is it for this year. Thank you for your time.
We would like to thank the judges, the photographer, Alexander Romales, who took the photos, the clerk's office for their invaluable clerical assistance, always given with grace, and of course, the city council for giving us this venue. There is one more award that we'd like to make tonight. There is always an angel in the wings, somebody who just steps forward and does it. Tonight, we would like to honor Mr. Harry Swain, the maker of our tulips and our leaves. I went to his farm. He asked me, when do I start?
I want to say I'm from Port Huron Township.
That's okay.
These two ladies came to me. These two ladies came to me and asked me to do this for them at no charge. And they were so wonderful to me that I just told them, if you need more, just say so. I have a small shop, work for myself at home,
That's nice.
and I won't tell you what I've done. I've done a lot. But whether it's metal or wood, I've done it. So, but these two ladies touched my heart. I just want you to know that.
I appreciate you doing that.
As a reminder,
We're always looking for people such as Harry here, helping us out with anything from the weeding to the planting to getting other volunteers, master gardeners and so forth. So if you're interested in helping us out, you can contact the clerk's office, 984-9725, extension 0. Just give your name and we will get back to you, I promise. We will hound you.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you for all that you do. You've, actually, the Beautification Commission was astounding when you said how long ago it's been, because I remember when it was formed, and this is something too, but you've done a great job over the years, a really great job in making our city look good, so you're to be congratulated. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to our fourth presentation. If the clerk would please read that one.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford will provide a mid-year update regarding the Blue Water Area Transit.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this update actually, because we've been off, is coming to you a little bit late, but it's still news. So before you, I think we passed out to each of you, the first sheet is our fact sheet from the Blue Water Area Transit, and I might mention that my alternate is Rico Ruiz, and we run a tight ship here, and the mid-year report is as follows. Our service, our hours of transit service are 58,232, and in the prior year, when I gave this church, we are minus 1%. And the miles of service that our bus transit does is 894,354, and that has also decreased within the year, and that's under 2%. And the passenger trips, I know sometimes we see our buses riding through towns where there's nobody on them or what is it doing, but we are up in that area at 662,427, and we're up by 2%. And the number of employees that we employ are 128. The number of buses in our fleet are 80. And we actually conserve with the compressed natural gas. That is a savings for us at 172,489. And our transit center visitors that come in and out, and this is just only in through October 1st through March the 31st, but if I gave you a year to date, we have had really countless people go in and out of our transit center, but just for this period of time, we clocked it at 40,405. And the funds distributed to our nonprofits, and these are through grants and everything that the transit center does business with, such as the Council of Aging, that's 603,245, and there are other actually agencies also. And we have 2 projects currently underway. We have the Amtrak station replacement study, and I think I know that we had, our city manager had emailed you each a package and said we had 8 options. Well, we have 9 options, and I will go through that later. And then the contracts, we have contracts that have been awarded for the replacement of 11 of our 80 buses. So that is the fact sheets as far as the metrics are concerned. And the one project I just want to hit up on for the audience here, under the Amtrak study, we have 9 options that we are considering on building a new CNN transit center. And the first option was to keep it where it is, and that's at the existing station on 16th Street. And then the second option is on Griswold, and this property is CNN Railroad yard site. And the third option was Port Huron Township, and this property is owned by the township. And the fourth one is Railroad Street, and this was the former station site. And then the fifth option is on 17th Street, and that's an industrial site. And the sixth option was at Thomas Edison Parkway, where the convention center is, and you know we're not about to remove that and put a train station there, so that's out. The next one is Riverview Street. That's where Dunn Paper is, and that's kind of the same connotation on some of these options. You can actually move them off the board, but the reason we put them there is because we heard from our public, and that's what they wanted. So you don't scratch off anything because it's just, it's just common sense. You wouldn't do that. But what is more wiser is that we listen. So these are all being listed. So that was Dunn Paper on Riverview Street. And number 8 option was Court Street, and that's Vantage Point. And then the 9th option, which is new, is 12th Avenue. But all the options that I have spoke of are located along or near the existing rail spur of CNN Railroad main line, with the exception of option 8, and that's Vantage Point. So people want to know that, with this contemplation of building this new train station, so what are our next steps? Well, we have several next steps, and I have passed that out to each one of the council members, and we also have listed this on our site. If you go on the Blue Water Area Transit site, I won't take up too much time now because you wouldn't remember it anyway, but there are at least there are about 8 next steps that we have to go through in order to make this a reality. So familiarize yourself with that, and I encourage you, if you want more information, just to go on the site and find it out. And if you need further clarification, just feel free to call our Blue Water Transit office. That's it.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, does anyone on council have any questions for her on her report?
Oh, yeah, Pauline, I'd like to say, and Jim Wilson is our general manager. Our assistant is Dave McElroy, and the chairperson is my co-partner. That's Linda Bruckner, who is a trustee, it's called trustee for Gratiot Township. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. We'll move on to public hearings. If the clerk would please read the first one.
To hear comments on the Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report for the 2017 program year.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on public hearing number 1 in regard to the CAPER report? Oh, she's leaving. Seeing no one, I'll declare public hearing number 1 closed. Public hearing number 2.
To hear comments on the request of Michael Duncan, owner of 2960 Electric Avenue, protesting a single lot assessment approved by City Council on July 9, 2018. Following the hearing, City Council will make a determination to either deny the protest or to grant the protest and remove the special assessment.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the City Council this evening on public hearing number 2? Okay, seeing none, I will declare the public hearing closed. What we do need to do here is you have a choice as council to either make a motion to deny the protest by Mr. Duncan or to grant the protest, which would remove the special assessment. So someone needs to make a motion one way or the other. Is there a motion?
Mayor Rep, I move that we accept the first one, now therefore be it resolved, and not the alternative, to
So-
dismiss this.
So it would be to deny the protest.
Correct.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, made by Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, seconded by Councilmember Archibald. Is there discussion now?
Yes,
Go ahead.
the reason that I did move that, fellow council members, is because I was expecting Mr. Duncan or somebody here to be represented to speak on behalf of that. And as I went through the paperwork, I always paid close attention to, his rental agreement, and was this included in his rental agreement up front, and things of that nature that would be factual coming forward, so it would give us an option whether, just to dismiss it. But nothing was listed under there at all, and I wanted to ask him if there was something else, and so he cannot speak for himself, and so when you're not here, I have to do what the next thing, and that is to, deny it. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this item?
Mayor Rep,
Yes,
I guess
Councilmember Harris.
my only issue would be to ask council is in what respect the tenant has concerning the liability of the property owner. The defect was caused by the tenant, but that doesn't let the property owner off the hook, does it?
Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, Councilman Harris, you are correct. Our ordinance, at the end of the day, puts the responsibility for the maintenance and the upkeep of the property with the property owner.
Okay, good, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Councilmember Warden.
it is so loud. In review of some of the, I think, the documentation or supplemental documentation, I reviewed, and it looked like the initial recipient of the complaint was actually in the tenant's name and not the landlord, and it was sent to the tenant. And I just found that to be, what are you supposed to do if the actual, I don't know if David could
I think Mr. Haynes will
speak to
come up
that,
and
but
speak to it.
just to put it out there, if you have a property and you have a tenant under lease, and the city sends the notice of the, and names the actual, and again, I don't know the word because I didn't bring that paper with me on that, but I reviewed it. But the actual one to be the defendant, so to say, to reply, it was not addressed or sent the name to the actual landlord that owned the property, it was to the tenant.
In the fix-it ticket, it was sent to both.
Okay.
And this is the fourth time that this property has been cited for a violation in the past 2 years. This initially was called in through a voicemail complaint to the code enforcement back in January of 25th of this year. then was monitored with updates all the way until finally it was March 21st is when we sent a crew out and actually had to do the cleanup because there wasn't any activity.
So was there communication follow-up confirmed going to the actual landlord throughout that process?
There was communication with the code enforcement officer, with the property owner, and as you noted in their letter, that they had also tried to make contact with the tenant without much effect.
Okay.
But as the city manager has mentioned, the ultimate responsibility of the property resides with the property owner.
Yeah, as long as they were involved and notified and throughout this process, and you know that they had a chance to respond and deal with it. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, just to cap it off, in the residential, we have a copy of the lease, and that is in the owner's, the landlord's name.
Anything else? This motion is to deny his request. We will take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. We'll move on to public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council this evening, please come forward, give us your name, and you have 4 minutes.
James Fisher, 816 Court Street, here in Port Huron. And I'm here to speak to you tonight about ordinance. It's number 4 on your agenda, and it's the rezoning of an area that is a current R1 district to an R district, and that is our neighborhood. And there's a number of my neighbors here today, too, in support of this. It was in 1996 that this area was first rezoned from multifamily to two-family. And we've seen a lot of neighborhood stability since then, and we figured it was time to move the next step and move to a single-family resident zoning. We actually talked amongst ourselves and made up petition sheets and went door to door to every house in the entire area we're talking about that is currently zoned R1 that we're requesting to be zoned R. We found absolute widespread support for this initiative. One thing that I'm sure all of you know, but others may not, is that there's an initial filing fee for any rezoning request of $500. So during this, we actually took up collections from ourselves and from the neighbors, some giving as little as 25 cents towards the effort because that's what they could afford, and some as much as 100 towards the effort because that's what they could afford. So this is truly a groundswell up from our neighbors to continue to improve our area and improve the housing stock. So I do ask for your support and your vote in a positive manner on this rezoning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I congratulate your neighborhood for taking the initiative to do this.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening? If they just come forward and give us their name, you have 4 minutes.
Madam Mayor, distinguished city council members. My name is Gordon R. Steffens, and I am 70 years old. And I notice there are quite a few people, quite a few things going on with Court Street, which is where I live. I attempted to rent my house out, and to my chagrin, I found out that I could not rent my house out even to my own child because of an ordinance that was passed, rather a moratorium on rentals in my neighborhood was passed in 2013, which is 5 years ago. Now, from what I understand, this was to keep the neighborhood from deteriorating. I understand that. Nowhere in the moratorium that I can ascertain is there provision for a single dwelling owner such as myself to rent out the property even to a family member. Having been born in Port Huron, I can attest to the brutal winters that we experienced. Now that I'm a senior citizen, I can't cope with the snow, the cold, the ice, and all the accompanying problems that come with it. I should not be forced to sell my home since I can't afford to let it sit empty. from fall until spring. Yet I have been told that the only thing I can do is sell. I do believe that the city council, not to say this particular city council, nonetheless, is the entity that destroyed all the homes near the Blue Water Bridge for a plan that wasn't enforced. And this is partly the reason that my water bills are so high. Unless I'm wrong, nowhere in this moratorium is there any room for exceptions, nor is there any expiration date. Mind you, the house next door to me is a rental, and the owners are Canadian. So because they were renting the house out in 2013, they can continue to do so, while I, as a U.S. citizen, cannot. It appears that one has served his country in a combat zone is not afforded the same privileges that a non-citizen can take advantage of. So my question to you, city council members, is this. Is there any way that I can rent my home out to a family member, one of my children, without running afoul of the moratorium?
You're only renting it out for a partial part of the year then?
Excuse me?
Partially? You're not renting it totally, just part of the year, or totally
I'm
renting?
going to rent it out for the full year. But I'm trying to be a snow bunny, if
Yeah.
it'll let me. And I can rent it out. I do have accommodations set up for the spring.
Separate from
Come
your-
back, yes, separate from this, yes.
Well, we can take this information. I would suggest that perhaps the city manager can get in touch with you. I know I believe there's some room for hardships, but that has to fall under a certain category. So have you left your information at all with Mr. Haynes? Does he have it?
No, he does not.
He's just written it down. He has it right over here.
Okay.
And they will get in touch with you to discuss it with you
Right.
further. Okay?
Thank you, Mayor.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
City Council.
Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the city council this evening? Just come forward and give us your name, and you have 4 minutes to speak.
Gary Goulet, 831 Court Street, and I would just like to talk about the ordinance under item number 4 under ordinances, the rezoning in our neighborhood on Court Street. And I'd just like to say that I also agree with Mr. Fisher's comments. There's not much I can add to it. I'd just like to say that I totally support the rezoning of our neighborhood. We're on an upward trajectory, and we'd like to keep it that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak this evening?
Good evening, Kathy Solomon, I live on Jenkinson Street. I just want to support Mr. Fisher and his neighborhood and what they're doing, and I can speak from what we've done. I think it does help us establish the neighborhoods and keep them moving forward in a positive way, safer community, and we've seen the results for ourselves, and I certainly hope that you guys look kindly on his request.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak this evening?
Hi, my name's Mary Roski on 19th Street. I purchased my home through the city redevelopment program to stop rentals from coming in. I now live next door to a rental that is horrible. I smell them, I hear them, and I need help. I don't know if I'm in the right place, but I need help with this.
Have you called the complaint in?
No.
No?
I didn't know who to call to complain. I have called.
Mr. Haynes is going to help you, too.
Tonight. I have called animal control. I have been to the police department, and they play the victim, and I am here.
You shouldn't have to live next to that. Mr.
I
Haynes will
certainly
take care-
don't.
Yeah, Mr. Haynes will, if you want to walk over there, he will give you his card and he will take care of you. Maybe we should just have him sitting up here. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the city council this evening?
Sharon Bender, 2614 South Boulevard. Mayor and council members and city manager and staff. I'm just here to say that the question was asked at the Planning Commission. Council member Archibald can verify about the effect that would have on the rehab homes in the neighborhood. And the fact was that it would not impact them. I have not read the new ordinance, I've not been given it, but that was what we were told.
Thank you.
My name's Alan Jowett, 708 17th Street. Just curious if they're ever going to have power, or is there power in that mausoleum at Lakeside Cemetery? I was in there the other day. The light fixtures have been stolen or removed by the city some time ago. Nobody knows where they're at. So the power's there, where the light fixtures were, but there is no power to the building. I'm curious as to why.
I can get back with you tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yep.
Sure?
I'll have Nancy Windsor contact you.
Okay, but there's the power, you can see where the light fixtures were that were taken out of there. You know, back in 1927, those light fixtures were $6,000 a piece.
What?
You know, back in 1927, so they weren't cheap then. But I'm just curious as to why there's no power there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kevin Banker, 825 Court Street, and I'd like to approach council and pass on where I'm coming from.
Oh, thank you.
Well, obviously, I'm here to support rezoning our neighborhood. My wife and I bought our home in 1996, 22 years ago. You may have been up there at that time, Anita, close to that. Family thought we were crazy at the time. Our house, built in 1896, it was a Grace Episcopal Rectory for 50 years. Family had it. Then there was a group home. Cram all these people in. Here's a driveway that you can fit 2 or 3 cars in. So we bought the home, and you can see the before and after. Put the porch back on, put the dormers back on, took down the security fence, put up the white picket fence, and we've been working ever since at it, just like our neighbors have been. We spoke in front of council several times over the years. When we first downzoned, when Military Road District came about, the historic district, the Old Town Historic District, we came up here every time. Each has brought improvement, and you don't see improvement overnight. It's a gradual thing. When you look back at all the good things that have happened, it's a great place. It's a pedestrian neighborhood. We're within walking distance, biking distance of downtown, and the healthier we are, and this zoning will support it, the healthier downtown will be as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience tonight? Yes.
Hi. I'm Suzanne Guernsey. I live at 729 13th Street. I've had my water shut off 3 times in the last 2 weeks. I pay my bill. It's because the neighbor beside me at 727 doesn't pay his. I went to the courthouse and spoke with a gentleman there that said he would take care of the problem after the second shut off. And I had one again. Now I'm here and I want to know what you're going to do about it. Apparently my water is connected with his. And the young man that turned it back on the 3rd time told me it was a rarity. that they're not usually connected. I would like my own water line.
Do you own your home or do you rent it?
I own it. I've been there 53 years.
You said who did you talk to before? You said courthouse, which would have nothing to do with it.
He was in charge of the water and sewer department.
In this building?
Yes.
Okay, you said courthouse.
What's your address again?
729 13th Street.
We find on sometimes older homes, they do share a water line back in the day before meters were put in. So back before we had water meters, sometimes they just shared a line when they built the home. So it is a rarity. So let me check into that, and I will contact you this week.
Okay, thank you.
It's the first I've heard about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening? Seeing no one, I'll declare public comment closed. We will move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Thank you, Councilmember Archibald. Is there a second? Support. Councilmember Lamb. We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes?
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. Items on the consent agenda. Received and filed notification that the annual conflict of interest statements have been reviewed and no discrepancies noted. Authorizing application of a Burn JAG program FY 2018 grant in the amount of $33,805 for purchase of in-car computer modems and acceptance of any grant funds. If awarded, approve the scheduling of a public hearing, 2 public hearings, one for September, both on September the 10th. One to hear comments on the establishment of an obsolete property rehabilitation act known as an OPRA district for 306 through 310 Huron Avenue, and as well on the application for an obsolete property rehabilitation act certificate for the same addresses. Then we also have corrected the single lot assessment amount for a previously declared single lot assessment for fines, assessments, and/or cost of removing blighting factors and/or causes of blight, as well as the abatement of nuisances. And also an ordinance given its second reading and enactment, and it was to amend Chapter 52 zoning, Article 3 District Regulations, Division 1, Section 52-162, map of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances to rezone the property generally described as 3001 vacant lot Electric Avenue from R1 zoning district to C1 zoning district. Those are the items on the consent agenda. We'll move on to, from the city manager, item 1.
Accepting the bid from Signature Ford in the amount of $112,912 for 4 2019 Ford Interceptor utility vehicles for use by the police department.
Is there a motion? So moved. Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Lamb, is there discussion? Any questions from council? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. Number 2.
Accepting the bid from Northgate Ford in the amount of $21,150 for a 2019 Ford F-250 4x4 crew cab pickup with an 8-foot box for use by the fire department.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lamb, is there discussion?
Yes, Mayor, each one of these, I'd still like to commend you for having explanations, about from the city manager. You know how you just make it plain, and what we need to ask is right here. But I do have a question that under the impact if not purchased, you mentioned, can you clarify this? Are you talking about 2 things or 1 thing here? I got the first part, it depended on the emergency response plan up here. Then you mentioned the fire marshal's van also has a steering issue. Are you just letting us know there's another problem somewhere around? Who is it? You? Oh. Are you letting me know? Are you letting us know that there's another problem there somewhere?
Mayor and council, this vehicle will be assigned to the on-duty battalion chief, who is designated as Chief 2. Right now, Chief 2 is a 2016 Ford Explorer Interceptor, which unfortunately has proven to be too small for its task. So that vehicle will be rotated down to the fire marshal. The fire marshal's van, which is a 2010 van, an E-150, has 65,000 miles, and as you mentioned, has some steering issues that will need to be addressed if it's going to continue to be an emergency operation vehicle. And then that Ford E-150 will be rotated back to the motor pool. In addition, we'll be trading in a 2005 Ford E350, or excuse me, an F350 that was purchased entirely with a Homeland Security grant back in 2005. So the federal government and the state will allow us to repurpose the proceeds from that trade-in towards the cost of this vehicle.
So that's just supporting evidence, what you mentioned. You know, when you stating a problem, and then you throw something else in the kitchen in the pot, I'm like, well, where did this come from? Okay, so I get it now. So it's just supporting your statement
Yep, it's
for
a cumulative
that.
process, and it's a
Okay.
win on our emergency response side, and it's a win as far as financing.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the chief while he's standing there?
Madam Mayor, just point out, Chief did mention that the grant required us to return it, not to sell it.
Oh,
So we
okay.
had to trade it in. We couldn't just put it on like my bid and sell it like we typically do. That's why it was traded. It's unusual for us to trade in a vehicle.
Yeah. Anything else? No? Thank you. We will take the vote.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 3.
Accepting the bid from Service Refrigeration Incorporated in the amount of $48,700 for the purchase and installation of a replacement cooling tower at the McMorran Ice Arena.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Ruiz. You both
You
kind
got a
of...
big mouth down here.
Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor, just note that this is a budgeted capital item for McMorran. We did anticipate this.
Difference in the prices, too.
We had originally budgeted 75,000, so it came in well under budget.
Yeah, I
We
would
have
say
worked
so.
with Service in the past, and they have done an excellent job for
Oh,
us.
that's good, okay.
Mayor Rep, just to comment on that, you know, that we're saving almost $20,000 between the next bid, and I think the impact is the fact that Service, basically, their largest share of their business is ice arenas and stuff like that, and get quality work at a decent price, so.
I wonder why, that's a good one.
Any other discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Councilmember Warden.
with this replacement and this cooling tower, is there a time frame? And also, I'd like to know if there's, you know, any type of service warranty or something with the work that they're going to be doing, and I think there might even be the continual contractor that you call in to service it, but I'd like to hear a little more about that with this purchase, if you know.
Nancy Windsor.
Well, Mayor and City Council, and to be perfectly honest, I do not know the exact warranty. I do know there is a warranty on this piece. And we've worked with this company a lot on a lot of the pieces that the last compressor, I believe, and stuff that we've bought. So I can get that information for you, though, and get an email out. I just don't have the exact information on the exact amount of years, so.
And also, the
apologize.
second thing I want to mention again is same as the competitive bid, 20-some thousand less than the next competitor, with actually the major provider and supplier of that, usually in the Midwest that I know of. That's pretty good to have that relationship, and appreciate that.
Yeah, we use them quite a bit,
Yeah.
so.
Thank you.
I will get that for you.
Thank you.
You're up.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Ashford.
Nancy, why are we replacing it?
Well, it was, this particular piece, I guess, has been there since the 70s, and my understanding is the current unit is rotting out and ready to collapse due to it rotting, so I guess the contamination of the water, it also made one of our compressors this spring have a very expensive repair, so this will prevent that in the future.
So, and that's been 20 years ago?
Since, my understanding is the mid-70s.
More than that.
So it's about
Okay.
my age.
So the likelihood, I'm just thinking, you have guarantees and everything, and if it lasts that long, then that's not really one of my hard stop
That's good.
issues
Yep.
about that. Okay, I
And
just
it's my
want,
understanding that the only thing, like, big repairs left is like some heat exchangers,
Right.
so we're getting to the end
Mhm.
of big repairs on the compressors, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you. Councilmember
Mayor
Harris.
Rep, just in addition, the replacement product that we're doing is basically a new state-of-the-art process. They're putting in a fiberglass unit, which will eliminate the problems that have accumulated over the years. So this is a big plus for.
So you know where I was coming from, yeah.
Yeah.
Just making sure when you're talking about guarantees, you can guarantee so much in something, nothing is perfect. But yet, when you could have a baseline and you can go back and see what you had to where you're going for the future, and it's better, it looks a lot better, so I'm comfortable with that. Thanks,
Thank you very much. If there's nothing else, we will take the vote.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move on to item 4.
Accepting the proposal from HM Environmental Services Incorporated in the amount of $398,750 for the cleaning of the biosolids storage tank at the wastewater treatment plant.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Second. Okay.
Councilmember Lamb. Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor and Council, you'll know that, I believe in the last year, you've done this on additional tanks as well down there. They have to pump this out, they have to dry it, and then it's considered a hazmat material, so a lot of it has to be trucking and tip fees at the dump to remove this hazmat material. And this is something we have to do on occasion.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on this?
Yes, so, so they have to get this out, it accumulates over a period of time. So this is really an operational thing that's going to keep occurring?
Every several years we have to do it, but it builds up and it affects our capacity. And Lenny has prepared in his team a lengthy explanation for the maintenance of valves and pipes that they can't get to because of the sludge. But the cost aspect is you have to pump it, you have to dry it, and you have to haul it to a hazmat dump.
Okay, I didn't see where's the price of?
$398,750,
Oh, okay.
which is a fair price.
Oh, here it
compared
is,
to what we paid in the past.
398,000. Yeah, I was just thinking about that money, so we have to dish that out every 2 years?
No, Lenny can come up and talk about the timeline. It's longer than that.
Oh, okay. Phew, okay, that's a good thing.
This was anticipated, too.
Correct.
Yeah, I know, that's why I used the word operational, because it keeps going, yeah.
Madam Mayor, Council, and Mayor Pro Tem, the question is really this tank, the series of tanks. We have 8 biosolids tanks that went into operation in 2005. So they have been in operation for 12 years, and they've never needed to be cleaned until last year. As you remember, you approved the cleaning of the first 4 tanks, which is 1, 5, 7, and 8. And that work was completed over this winter, and now we had proposals again for 3 firms who submitted technical proposals for the cleaning of the remaining 4, and we've accepted the technical proposal for HM, who we know what they're doing. This is for the last 4, and it took 12 years to get to this point, so we're hoping, especially with some improvements we're making to the tanks and their controls, that we may last longer than 12 years this next time, but, this is the first time we've had to clean them.
Oh, okay, good.
And this was a budgeted item.
Yeah, I see it was budgeted. Yeah, thank you, but we still need to understand what was happening in between them budgets. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion from anyone on council? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 5, please.
Accepting the bid from Sanctum Contracting in the amount of $121,339.01 for the assembly of a 30 by 40 pavilion in Lakeside Park and other improvements.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lamb, is there discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Yes, Councilmember Harris.
I guess my biggest issue with this is basically the cost of this project. The pavilion looks like it's a kind of a minimal project, but we only had one bid, and it's up to $121,000. And I just kind of wondered if the consequences were such that if we use McKenzie to do the cement work and the other company to do the building, whether we would be able to save some money.
Madam Mayor, if I can, Councilman Harris, you bring up an excellent point. We are awarding this contract the way it sits, but we will immediately issue a change order to take out the repair concrete that we can do on our contract with McKenzie for a cheaper price. So we will issue a repair order, but to be fair, in the bidding, we must execute the original bid, the bid amount, but they bid it on quantities. And so we'll look at the repair work and the drawing and issues we can do with our McKenzie contract for cheaper, and then we'll issue a change order, which we anticipate will be around $20,000. So you bring up an excellent point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Rapp?
Councilmember Ward.
I just have, a couple questions as well on this, just on, is there any feedback on, something that seems to be a pretty common, we have a lot of contractors out there that have done stuff over the years, why there was only one bid that came back for this?
Councilman Warden, excellent question. The market is just so hot, we can't even get bids on stuff, especially when it comes to skilled trades and builders. Concrete, builders, if you look at our concrete bid, we only had one concrete bid, we typically receive two. There's such high demand that we're only getting one bid, people don't have time for the job.
And as far as the timing of this is, goes in hand with that recreation passport grant. And again, the timing of that, is there, again, the plans, but is there a time frame that this has to be up and going and approved? Does it have to be this?
I'll have Nancy Windsor answer that.
In order to
Mayor and City Council, the project will be done by next May, which is in accordance with the passport grant. I think we had another 6 months beyond that, but, because this project was awarded last cycle, so it will be done by May, though, and we'll have it up and running for the next season. It's right in the bid doc, so.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else from anyone?
I will say, even though we have a single bidder, our engineering department does an excellent job of quantifying estimates of what our acceptable quantity costs, whether it be for building materials, labor, and concrete, and they go through and make sure that we're not getting gouged in a hot market. So Lenny's team does an excellent job reviewing the bids, making sure that the bids are at least fair and accurate and within reason. So we feel comfortable with it.
Mayor Rapp,
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Ashford.
to the city manager, so when we send out our RFPs, we send them out, right?
Correct.
And we don't know how many are going to respond to it.
Correct.
So that doesn't mean that just because we only got one, we didn't send them out across the board.
You are absolutely correct. We
All
do.
right.
We cast a wide net.
All right, I just want to make sure.
Anything else? Thank you. We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes. Item 6, please.
Accepting the bid from Sanctum Contracting in the amount of $118,750 for the construction of a maintenance garage at the water filtration plant.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lamb, is there discussion?
Madam Mayor, as you find your explanation, this was, we need storage area since we tore down the old filtration plant in the overlook. That contains significant square footage for storage. So we will be building on, we looked at building an independent building behind the water plant, but that's some nice park area. We felt it would be not the best use of public space to put a building out there. And so we are building an add-on to the water plant. And the reason why this is slightly higher is we've asked to brick it to make it look like the current water plant. When they built the water plant, they went to great lengths to make sure it was aesthetically pleasing since it does abut Pine Grove Park in our riverfront. So this will be bricked. I give Lenny and his team some major props. They worked with the bidder to bring down the price. It was originally about $180,000, but they were able to work together to make the trusses closer together and reduce that price to $118,000. This is a photo on your screen here of the proposed building. If you have any other questions, Lenny can answer them for you.
Is that the existing one?
This will be
right here?
this will be the addition,
Oh,
the two
okay.
bays.
Oh,
it's-
no, I just meant that was the existing, and then that's
Yep,
going to be an
correct.
addition, okay.
Yep.
Mayor Rupp?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Ashford.
And this will be paid for out of the water fund.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, Lenny, it says here, as a result of the demolition of the scenic overlook. So what justification that had to do with the scenic outlook was an outlook?
The outlook had, it was all,
storage,
it was
was
all storage underneath
Oh,
it.
it was underneath it?
Yep,
Okay.
all storage.
I'm glad you told me that, because I was going to say, what did that have to do with that? And I never recognized that. Oh, okay. I guess you can sit down, Lenny, I got my answer. You want to stand up
Any
anyway?
questions if you have any?
Oh, no, he just answered, when the scenic, most people, when you just visit up there, I didn't know that it was
It's slightly over
storage underneath
7,000
there.
square feet
Yeah.
in there, although less than half of it was usable.
Right.
But we were storing vehicles and equipment in there and using that for some of our maintenance operations for the water plant.
Oh, okay.
But since we had to tear it down, we had to move that equipment, and we had a temporary building next to, in fact, you might see there's a temporary shed right next to the water plant now, and we needed to put in a more permanent solution. This particular project has been going on for as long as we've been talking about the overlook. It's a long story, but Mr. Freed has got it. That's right. We've gone 3 times out for bids for this particular project. We realize that it's adjacent to a facility that's overlooking Pine Grove Park. It can't just be a simple wooden garage with vinyl siding, which is the original thought. Being engineers and all, we didn't,
Wasn't
we
the
didn't
right
really
brain?
think about it. But Mr. Freed said, no, it's got to look nicer than that. So, and we did value engineer we met with the owner of Sanctum Engineering several times to get a very good-looking replica of the building that didn't cost, that the original brick is got a metal oxide paint that to replicate would have cost us $5 a brick, which adds up to a lot of money. And we said, well, we found one that looks just as good and didn't cost that much. So.
For you. No, it looks really good, yeah. I like that. And I understand it has to complement the existing, so it won't look just like an eyesore or
That's
something.
the whole idea,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, it looks good. Thank you, Lenny. Thanks, Mira.
Yes. Is there any
Mira?
comments? Yes.
I'm sorry, while you're up there.
Councilmember
For this meeting, for the design specs, this is prior to the bid, was there other, at least contractors invited or present in that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then they decided not to submit a bid?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will say I appreciate Sanctum Contracting for fitting us in. They're local people who invest a lot in the community, done a lot of work for us, and I think that's part of the fact that they did submit a bid because they knew we needed to get these jobs done.
We will take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes?
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move to resolutions. Number 1.
Authorizing 11 payments.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Support?
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there any discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Councilmember Harris.
I noticed under payment number 6, it's a payment for MDOT for the work they've done in the Scott Pine Grove Avenue intersection. I got a phone call, so I decided to go up there. And on northbound Pine Grove Avenue, as you merge onto 10th Avenue, there's 2 potholes in the driver's lane. And coming south on Pine Grove Avenue, as you go onto 10th Avenue, there's a couple of potholes right there. Now, I don't know if it's the fault of MDOT or our thing, but they're both our wheel breakers.
We'll get someone out there.
They're at that curve on the lane, and it's for merging to 10th Avenue from both directions. And I see we got a nodding head down there that concurs, so they are...
Since MDOT's not here, we can blame them, though.
It's fine.
That works for me.
But I just thought we were handing out money, and that just jogged my memory, and somebody said, hey, you better go up and look at that. I think it's an attention getter, so thank you.
The whole Hinder section is an attention getter. A little difficult.
I just want to say that we did not stamp the engineering drawings on that. That was MDOT, not us.
No, I know that. Or I'd have more to say about it.
I don't know.
Anyways, if there's no further questions on the payments, we will take the vote.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 2.
Approving the agreement with Tetra Tech of Michigan, P.C. for the engineering coordination and administration of the city's utilities master planning and general services for fiscal year 2018.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Archibald. Is there discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
No.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. Item 3.
Approving the contract with the Michigan Department of Transportation for the combined sewer separation of the Blue Water Bridge Plaza area and authorizing a local match of $450,300.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lamb. Yes.
Ma-
Discussion, would you like to explain?
Yeah,
a little
Madam Mayor, I
bit?
just want to say a couple of things. One, I appreciate MDOT. As part of our mitigation agreement, they agreed to cover their portion for around the plaza for the sewer separation. This will be our last sewer separation project within the city of Port Huron. It began in the early 90s to the tune of about $180 million. Lenny and his team have done an excellent job of working with MDOT, bringing forth this agreement. But much credit as well, I want to mention Bob Clegg, who's no longer here, who spent a good portion of his career. Bob Clegg did an excellent job it's one of the reasons why we hired Bob Clegg back in 1996 when he came here, was to help oversee the sewer separation project. It was a monumental task, and without Bob Clegg, without Dave Smith, and without our engineering team, we would never have been able to get this project done for the price in which we did. That is why we have remarkably good streets and good water and good sewer because of that project. The mayor and council throughout all those years were steadfast in not only looking at the water and sewer, but what about the sidewalks and streets, the whole streets, complete streets and initiatives. So Lenny, we appreciate you negotiating this agreement and working with MDOT and the DEQ. It is not an easy task to broker an agreement with MDOT and DEQ, and Lenny's team did an excellent job. And so we appreciate MDOT stepping up to the plate with the $950,000. We will match that with our sewer fund of $450,000. In the early 1990s, we were discharging more than 300 million gallons a year of wastewater and stormwater mixed. This last year, it was less than 1 million. This will take care of it completely. So we've been good stewards of the environment, and it's a legacy project that stems many mayors and many council members and many city managers, and I just applaud. We should be proud of this. Not many other communities in the state were forced to do it. We were, and we've done it, and our children will be grateful for it.
Mayor Rep, sorry. I just, when is this going to start, and how long do you think this is going to take?
Lenny, can you answer that when it will start?
Mr. Reed, Madam Mayor, the design has to be finished by the spring of next year, 2019, and we have to begin construction by the fall of that year. And we are well on the way to do that.
This will be nice to get started and done. Thank you.
Any other discussion? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. Item 4.
Approving the agreement with Tetra Tech of Michigan, P.C. for the professional engineering services for the combined sewer separation of the Blue Water Bridge Plaza area.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford.
Madam Mayor, this is a joining resolution to go with the previous one, and it will be funded from your previous resolution of the design cost.
Any questions for council? Discussion?
Mayor Rep, just a
Councilmember
comment.
Harris.
I see that this has already been under basically the overlook of Tetra Tech in preceding years, and I've seen some of their previous work, and I will be voting yes on this one, so thank you.
Any other discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move on to item 5.
Approving an addendum to extend the towing and related services agreement with Preferred Towing Incorporated through June 30th, 2021, with an automatic renewal for an additional 2 years.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Councilman Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Ruiz. Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor, first and foremost, want to thank Preferred Towing for their remarkable professionalism throughout this ordeal. The original contract was given to Don's Towing, which I terminated that agreement after they have yet to still pay the city for the money which is owed to us under contract. And after being the low bidder the first time and not getting the contract, they still came back and bailed us out. And they were there the day we terminated the contract. Preferred Towing stepped in to pick up the contract, and they have been remarkably professional to work with. Their investment into a secure lot where our officers are able to know that the vehicles are stored as evidence. They have worked very well with our police department and our fire department. Whether it be there be an accident in the street, they go out there and they clean up, and they do an excellent job. They're very timely. Chief Platzer has strongly recommended that we continue to work with Preferred Towing. I have enclosed a letter to you in an email, I believe, I don't know when that was, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, they'll flow together. So I just want to thank Preferred Towing for stepping in on short notice, for your professionalism throughout this entire ordeal, and your investment in this community. If many of you have seen over there by Skidgy's, there's, I forget what street it is, but I know Skidgy's is on it. They have invested in a very well-maintained, secure lot. They've really cleaned up the area, and it's just been a huge asset to the community, so thank you for that. The reason why we extended this contract in the time we did is, one, for 3 years, and then if the pleasure of both the Chief of Police and Preferred Towing can automatically do for 2 additional years, is because these contracts require significant investment in capital, meaning they have to buy trucks and equipment to facilitate this contract, and oftentimes those are on a 5 to 6 year payment plan. So it's fair if they're going to invest in us, we can put a reliable amount of time so they can recoup that investment. And so we did 3 years, and then pending that it's mutually agreed upon between the Chief of Police and Preferred, it will automatically renew for an additional 2 years. But at any given time, after 3 years, if there's any issue, we can terminate.
All right. Any questions?
Mayor Rep, just a comment. I went back and looked at the September meeting from last year, the 3-hour and 26-minute meeting, and we had a response in there, and it said that this will give us time to write an RFP and RFQ for when this contract. And I guess that's my only step back on this one here is that we don't have an RFP or an RFQ to go up for bid for this, and I would be hoping that.
You bring up an excellent point, Councilman Harris, and the reason why I have decided to do it this way instead of going out for an RFP is because last time when we put out an RFP, we received 2 bids, one from Don's and one from Preferred, and because it requires a significant amount of equipment and specialty to be able to tow a fire truck and to tow a semi-truck. Not every firm is capable of doing that. Don's Towing did not fulfill their obligations under the previous agreement. They still owe us money. Hopefully they're watching tonight and will be glad to return their money to the taxpayers of Port Huron. And so we believe that Preferred, their professionalism, their ability to conduct the contract, and the fact that they were one of only 2 last time is the reason why we just extended it. But you bring up an excellent point. Thank you.
Well, I do really think it's a good choice, and they've proven they've done the work, and you know, probably the only other person that could bid on it was the fact would be Don's, and under responsibility under the city council or our rules and stuff with the whole payments due, we couldn't award them the contract if we wanted to. So, but I just hope that next time we make these comments that we kind of follow through on them and help us make a quicker decision.
I assumed a year ago Don's Towing would actually pay the bill, which they have not. So I guess I was made a little bit unrealistic conclusion.
So thank you for your comments.
Anyone else on council have any discussion?
Mayor Rep?
Comments? Yes, Councilmember Warden.
Yeah, I want to thank Preferred for stepping in when you had to, when we needed you, and to ramp it up so fast to help out. And again, I know they're one of, as far as the service, the quick service, reliable service, and to help out the city. I do appreciate that, and also the chance that offered up to continue this on with this agreement for 3 years and potential additional 2 more. So I just want to say thanks for that, and I will be supporting this.
Any other discussion from anyone else? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. And we'll move on to ordinances. Number 1.
Second reading and enactment, an ordinance to amend Chapter 10 Building and Building Regulations, Article 5 Rental Certification of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances for the purpose of adding refusal of water services for uncorrected rental violations.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Archibald, is there discussion?
Mayor Rep?
Councilmember Warden?
So at the first reading, going through this, I kind of raised, some potential, concerns on, how this wording was written in here, and able, I know it's kind of clarified verbally as far as the responses given to us about that it will be vacant, will not be, water will not be turned off without it being vacant. But I still, as I read through this language, if we look at Section 10-168, the revocation of certification, and this goes through, all the different reasons that somebody could be, their certificate of, for the rental certification could be revoked. And, for, again, for rental code violations and that type of thing. And then it also says in Section B, a rental certificate may be revoked if the property is declared a public nuisance, and then based upon activities or evidence of repeated code violations, which of course would definitely be, but also including blight, and how that wording is included in there, multiple valid police calls, incidents, legal activity, and so on, but how it's included specifically in the wording above that causes that to be a public nuisance, including blight. I think that was the concern down below, that adding this new language that water could be shut off for rental, for failure to have current rental certification. And again, it goes through the details. But I think we should actually have maybe potentially language entered in excluding just blight. Because I don't think blight is a corrective measure. It could be just paint, could be peeling paint, could be, again, the shopper newspapers strewn across the yard, and it has nothing to do with the actual structure of the home and the rental unit and the livable space in there. But blight could be, again, it's supposed to be a corrective, not an action for the neighborhood. But if that could be just including blight be caused a public nuisance, then we carry down to this language here that actually says, hey, if it becomes a public nuisance, they can shut your water off. Again, maybe in between a tenant or so forth. I just have, again, that's my only concern on that is I'd hate to have somebody that just has a blight issue, which could be paint or some of that stuff, to have all of a sudden a tenant evicted and immediately not have the water shut off, to the unit. So, again, I don't know that that's what we're trying to get at here as far as teeth. I think it mentioned before what we were told at the first reading. It was really about, hey, for conditions that aren't safe, conditions that aren't repaired and that need to be there, and if they aren't up to code and they can't get it certified and fixed, of course it's not safe for a tenant to be in there. And that's, I think, that what was told in the meeting that you're trying to do. But I don't know how hard would it be just to add that the water will not be shut off, just except, or specifically just for something that just has blight violations only. So that's my suggestion to put in there to, exclude blight only. If there's an issue, if there's something that just has blight issue, shouldn't be able to turn off the water.
Okay. I don't think that this is pertaining to just blight, obviously it was when we talked about, the last time it was talked about, when somebody's evicted and there's no, or not evicted, whatever, they do not have their rental certification, there's no one living there. So it wouldn't be, for blight issues, no one evicts someone for a blight issue or puts unsafe conditions for occupying the home just for blight.
Well, I'm just saying that the top part, that a rental certification, it says in the ordinance prior, that could be revoked, including blight. That could be the reason that as far as the ordinance reading up above, in 10-169 or 168B, and it just says including blight. So I just had that concern, just if it's up top, including blight, down here, I don't think we mean it to be, for a rental certification revoked because of blight, that we're going to turn off your water.
Okay.
Just for clarification. And
Well, I don't think that was the intent of the ordinance, but is there any other discussion from anyone?
Move for the
Okay,
question.
we'll take the vote on it as it is right now.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Nope.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
no,
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. Ordinance number 2.
Second reading and enactment. An ordinance to amend Chapter 52 zoning, Article 4, General and Supplementary Regulations, Section 52-677, parking and storage of recreation vehicles, campers, travel trailers, and boats of the Port Huron Code of Ordinance, to remove camping tents, add non-commercial trailers in residential zones, and to clarify RV parking on double front lots.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb, is there discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Yes, Councilmember.
just a brief discussion on why I probably won't vote to support this. I think, and it still goes back to the problem, if you looked at this one in the City Planning Commission, on several occasions since 2012, they have instituted this, the 3-foot property line thing. Well, fortunately for me, or unfortunately for me, I live in an area of neighborhoods where we have 47-foot lots and 45-foot lots, and it puts an undue burden on some of us, whether it's a vehicle we got in our yard, or whether it's a second vehicle we got in our yard, and puts us in a compromising position because we own small pieces of property. And I really like the regulation without that, but I think with that 3-foot setback on the side yard, it's difficult for me, it's difficult for my neighbors, and if you go around and look at the old neighborhoods in the city of Port Huron with these small lots on, it's a problem. Like I say, I think the idea is good, but it just won't work for me, so.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Councilmember Warden.
I have some actually very similar, I guess, discussion as well as I drive around, again, some of the up and down the streets and some of the neighborhoods there, and you watch and see, in this bright, wonderful, summertime, and they have, again, the houses in the older neighborhoods, and they have the smaller lots and nice, well-kept homes, nice families, one-car garage, and their property lines and driveways are right next to the property line. And again, having that 3-foot thing is, I think it's going to be potentially cause more, pointing fingers at things and unnecessary concern to some people that are just trying to, do right and have their stuff on their property. So, yeah, I think it goes a little too far, and I think that's one of the concerns on this, that I will not be supporting it with this current wording. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes, excuse me, no. Sorry. I'm reading ahead, sorry, no. I know.
You woke me up.
Senior moment, thank you.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
No?
Councilmember Archibald,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes.
Mayor Rep, if I may. Actually,
Yes.
This is out of order, I guess, but in that we've just passed, how often do we get feedback on, pushback on what we've just passed and people who have disagreements with it? Do we?
I know with this item, the Planning Commission took great time to discuss it and the density issues. And that is one of the issues with smaller lots, massive boats and big RVs out front. That actually is the issue. It's not an appropriate place to stick a massive RV or boat all year round. So oftentimes, I think sometimes we forget that before it gets here, the Planning Commission goes to great measure to research this, to reach out, to hear. They have public hearings, they have feedback, and they communicate with the community as well. And so we do take that into consideration. But some of those neighbors don't want a massive RV right on their property line all year round. And so we have to take all the residents into consideration, not only ones.
I guess that's why I should have spoken beforehand, and that's because someone has stopped me and had that same problem where they had not just an RV, but some other vehicles. But it also, it's a great time for me to recognize, and for everyone to recognize what the Planning Commission does, that they do go, there is someone before us that goes to great lengths, as you say, and it's good for us to remember that. Thank you.
And it's a voluntary position. I can't think of a less thankful position than a council member, except for the Planning Commission. They literally take a beating on a lot of stuff and there's significant rules and regulations that they have to follow. They have to go to school. There's a lot of training, and they take their volunteering just very significantly. So
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, Mayor Rep, since we're all out of order, I guess I could put my 2 cents in.
As long as we're talking about the same thing.
It is, yeah, it's the same thing. And I too would like to commend the Planning Commission. A lot of times we sit here, we, vote and make decisions, and we don't know how we got to the point that we got to. But the Planning Commission, they do that. And what I found really significant about them, and I don't have to go to the meetings, but what I have observed is that they don't actually look at the personal thing. It's not a personal issue. They actually collectively think about the whole city, and you have to think about that. And sometimes you have people that just have to grandfather in, and you have to accept it. But for the greater good of the all, that's what you have to look at. I'm not saying that excuse the older way things are, but if you don't step out and try to make that change and try to make a difference and make a better Port Huron, just like what they're doing here tonight, then we won't do it. We won't be moving anywhere. We wouldn't change anything. So I think these are some of the risk factors that we have to take on behalf of the entire city of Port Huron to make us a better place. So I appreciate the Planning Commission to the nth degree. And and they don't, and sometimes they all don't agree with one another either, and they stand their grounds. But they bring the justification right there and put it on the table. But I think it's always a bad rule of thumb for any public servant to take a issue and put it there on a personal level. Those are for your sets of eyes, but yet when you're put in that position, we have a responsibility to be receptive to the whole entire, that's a democracy. So I just wanted to put that 2 cents in.
Councilmember Harris, I think, wants to say something, but I don't want to get into a debate back and forth of the item.
I'm disappointed that the fact that I had to bring up my own address, but this preceded me, and my neighbor that lives directly behind me, who's had issues with this thing and has been cited for it and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Well, and you can go around the corner down on 15th Street, and you look at the 45 and the 47-foot lots down there. And unfortunately, most of them are not kept up as adequate as some of us do. And to lump everybody together in one thing, you have to take into consideration how people treat their things, their property and stuff. And, there are people in the city of Port Huron yet that don't give a crap about their property. Well, I do. And I kind of insulted the fact that I did bring up my property, because my problem is not my consequence only. It's probably the consequence of the majority of the people in the Harrison neighborhood. And, whether I know I represent the whole city, but I also represent them and myself as well. Thank you.
We're going to move on now.
Yes.
We kind of digressed a little bit here. So we will move on to ordinance number 4.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 52 zoning, Article 3, District Regulations, Division 1, generally, Section 52-162 map of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances, to rezone the properties generally described as the area bounded by Wall Street on the north, 7th Street on the east, Griswold Street on the south, and 10th Street on the west, from an R1 zoning district to an R zoning district.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Support.
We got everybody.
I'll support it.
Councilmember Archibald, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, and is there discussion?
Madam Mayor, David Haynes, I believe, sent you this morning the copy of the petitions and application packet for the residents of this neighborhood. It is, as they have seen and you demonstrated in the petition, a neighborhood-led effort. These kind of things make me very excited to be a city manager when you see these type of engagement in the citizens. So I applaud you in your efforts and your grassroots efforts to pull this together and your continued investment in that neighborhood. And we strongly stand behind this.
Anybody from council? I think I said it before when Mr. Fisher came up and spoke, that I think it's great that you have a group of citizens that come forward like this to improve their neighborhood. So is there anyone else who has anything that they want to add to that? Be the same?
Yeah, Mayor Rep, I actually just, a couple of the statistics, that you guys did, sent a follow-up today, supplemental, about how many homes in this area that's getting rezoned that are one family, two family, and then how many are currently rentals. Do you have that information with you to refresh? 'Cause I think the petition's there too. I think there was it 12 or 16 per page?
Correct.
Something like that. What, four pages of signatures? It's pretty impressive. I guess my question is, I love the fact that, again, we saw it earlier with another, another area, another neighborhood that took it upon themselves to go to each one and even went to, a landlord as well and got him to sign off and say, yes, it's okay. And again, doing it in this section, I thought it was pretty impressive to do. But as far as how many signed, I think it was like 50 or 60 signatures on there. But the supplemental thing, I don't remember the numbers of how many actual homes or units are in that. Did you have that?
There are roughly 114 single-family homes.
Okay.
In that area. There are about 51 multifamily homes in that location.
And I guess again, to have this, brought up here to change it, the current existing multifamily and potential rentals, are they grandfathered in for that address and that home and that use? If it has a 4-unit or 6-unit that's currently there, just using that as an example, is that grandfathered in until what would happen to that unit down the road if?
The only way to remove that legal non-conforming, and you're right, it will carry with the property, it will carry to the heirs, it will carry to a transfer of the property and sale. That will actually stay as long as its use continues. The only way that you will lose that is through abandonment. And we do have some criteria that we have spelled out in our ordinance that describes that. But other than that, as long as it's continued and its intended use is to be a rental property, that will continue.
Yeah, so basically just no new rentals will be entered in, and the other factors that go along with the R instead of the R1. So I thought, great work, guys. I think it was outstanding to do this and bring it from the community and neighbors forward. It gets an engagement, buy-in, and more action and support there. So I appreciate that at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comments before we take the vote?
Mayor Rep, just one
Councilmember
quick
Harris.
question.
Yes.
We had a gentleman that get up here and spoke and said he had some property in the area that he was trying to rent during the public comment session, and he mentioned something in 2013 that prevents him from renting.
Moratorium.
Does that affect this? The moratorium was put into place by council in 2013, so that was when the council made the decision that any properties located in an R zone that weren't identified as a rental property at that time, the moratorium would be put into place, that additional.
You're going to work with that gentleman.
Yes, I'll be in contact with him to find out what his situation is, how that compares to what our ordinance allows, and see if we can't find a solution.
Okay. With that, just good things to say about Jim Fisher and the neighbors, and good step forward. Thank you.
I too would like to commend the neighborhood community and Kathy for leading the charge. And I think when we all can work together like that, and that's what we're all about here, you make us just feel so proud being here in Port Huron that you can come here and present this and change the neighborhood in the way you want to see your neighborhood where you live at. And so that's empowering you to make that difference. And I certainly just commend all of you.
Any other comments? Thanks, David. We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes?
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. And we will move on to the last ordinance, number 5.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 52 zoning of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances to define home for the aged, independent or assisted living facilities, nursing homes, convalescent homes, rest homes, and memory care facilities, and their principal permitted uses and parking requirements.
Is there a motion?
Support.
I know it's time for us to go.
My support.
Okay.
Councilmember Ashford, supported by Councilmember Archibald. And is there discussion?
Mayor, what precipitated this?
I think you can get up again, David.
Sorry.
Mayor and Council, what brought this forward was when we had a request from Marion Joy. And they were looking at some new plans and new additions. And as we looked at that, we also started looking at the state and some of the definitions. We realized that there is more requirements coming down the pipeline. As our community ages and this baby boom now kind of becomes grayer and grayer, there's going to be more and more need for these type of housing. And our current definitions really don't mirror what is at the state. So we felt that we should be more in alignment, and both in definitions of number of residents being served within the facility, whether they're licensed or not licensed. What is the level of care taking place? Because that will determine, how many parking spaces are you going to allow for? Are they still able to drive? If they're not able to drive, then that's going to be a different parking requirement. And so all of this started coming in the mix, and we decided to align ourselves with more of the definitions of the state level. So as we see, probably in the future, more senior care facilities coming into our community, we're going to have the not only the definitions, but also the requirements in place to meet that need.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thanks.
Any other discussion?
Mayor Rep.
Councilmember Warden?
Yeah, David, I didn't catch what you said, as I was going to ask you, what's going on? What brought this up, that why we're changing this, and who's coming to town, or who's looking to do what? What did you say the first thing there as far as?
Marion Joy.
Marion Joy?
Yeah, they're a senior housing facility in
Okay.
Port Huron.
Okay.
And they'd come in to propose a site plan, and when we started reviewing it, we realized that some of the definitions of the proposed uses, whether you're talking about, assisted care, independent care, memory care, those are very specific, especially memory care. That's something that is growing as dementia is becoming bigger in the aging community. All of that plays into it.
Okay. Yeah, I just see the stricken red line previous stuff, proposed site must have at least one property line abutting a major thoroughfare, so it looks like you're eliminating that and letting it be anywhere in a neighborhood or off the thoroughfare. Egress, off-street parking for guests, employees, staff, as well as the uses. The stuff that's redlined is what, I look at, okay, what's changed and what was the barrier. No building shall be closer than 25 feet from any property line, so you're eliminating that. So I'm assuming they're looking to be closer than 25 feet to the property line is what, for future here. And then it also says, adding memory care facility, homes for the aged. But I also noticed in another section down here, it actually included, I think it was on page, where I had this thing here, on K5, packet 133, it was kind of going through the uses and then the requirements, for off-street parking requirements, section 52772, use and number of minimum parking spaces. And, it has in here, it looks like in D, you're looking to add elderly, to the, as well as senior citizen housing, independent or assisted living. And then, let's see here, I saw something here about, or children's facility, where's that? Oh, the next page, I'm sorry. So, packet page 134, it's section C, getting rid of sanitarium, convents, nursing homes, aged, convalescent, children's homes, memory care facilities, children's homes. So we're adding, it's not specifically regarding just the memory care facilities or nursing homes. This is, children's homes, and I think it's on there twice now, children's homes again. So is there more, what was the reason for
Going on
adding
there?
that? Yeah.
That's in reference to a foster care home, whether it's adult foster care or children foster care. It's basically the same type of use going on inside the facility. It's, different ages, but we're having the same type of parking requirements for either one.
Okay. And this stuff all went through the Planning Commission first? I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, David. No other discussion, we will take the vote.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes?
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes, that concludes our regular agenda, and just a couple announcements. City offices will be closed September 3rd for Labor Day. That sounds terrible, the end of the summer. The next regular city council meeting will be held on September the 10th. And then I'd like to say, I see Sharon Bender, she came up earlier. I understand that we were talking about the planning commission earlier, that you've resigned from it, that you're moving? No, I'm not moving. You're not moving? Oh. You just...
Still volunteering for recreation, still adopting my car.
Good.
Good. Well, we appreciate all the years that you've served on the planning commission. I know it's been a while. We're getting pictures across our screen here, so, of James' baby. So I didn't mean to be distracted from you, but we do appreciate your service. How many years has it been? 18 years. It's wonderful. Is there anything else to come before the council? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Meeting adjourned.
You know what, when